the Lost World Museum, where we ask again the provocative, important question: where do we come from? Is it apes, aliens, or Adam? And we're going to pick up where we left off on the last live. So if you're watching this pre recorded, you may want to stop it, go back to last week's, watch it, and then come back and watch this because we're going to talk about fast forming coal. Now, we talked about fast forming fossils, i.e., leaves, and the machine and the technique that it took in order to, dare I say, replicate the conditions of the worldwide flood, which we believe made cast, I'll use the word cast, all the fossils that we see here on planet Earth. Or is it that it was long periods of time, fossilization takes its time, and that just, something falls to the ground and then it gets covered with silt and then eventually it turns into a fossil? No hurry. That's not the case. It is rapid. And if you ask any paleontologist or geologist, they will, maybe not reluctantly, but they will tell you that some, they won't say all, sedimentary rocks form quickly. And most, all, dare I say, fossils form quickly. Probably some. And it depends. All right. From the creationist perspective, all fossils form quickly and not too long ago either. Okay. Last week I showed you fresh leaves. These are the leaves that I showed you last week. 1 week of just sitting here on my desk did this. You won't find leaves in the fossil record that look like this. They look, shall I say, fresh as a daisy. And here's an example of one. Maybe not a really good example as far as being able to see it clearly. Well, the stem is bent backwards, and it's this type of leaf right here. And this leaf has been out for a week too. When you look at the leaves in the fossil record, and you can get on Google and look that up right now, just put on fossil leaves and just see how many there are and just see how many are perfectly flat. When leaves lay in water, they do straighten out, they don't curl, and even if fossilization doesn't take place within hours, I mean, the burial process and the beginning process of fossilization, it does allow it to preserve it for a little bit of time in order for there to be enough sediment to lay on top of it to then encase it and begin the fossilization process. All right. But look what happens after 1 week. So my point is, when you see these type of leaves, and those are those like almond looking leaves, almond shaped looking leaves, they are being covered quickly. If that's the case, if all, let's just say leaves, let's leave everything else out. If all leaves are covered quickly, what mechanism is it that creates that environment to be able to fossilize leaves or anything else? When you start to look at the fossils, such as this fish right here, you notice that all of the fleshy parts and the sensitive parts that should deteriorate within several hours, begin to at least, are preserved. And if that one isn't convincing enough, look at this shrimp fossil. Now, we showed this one last week. How does a shrimp get fossilized and contain that much detail if this shrimp died a natural death, floated or sunk to the bottom, and then was covered over with silt and a little bit more and a little bit more, and then finally this gets fossilized? Look at those antennas. Look at the detail. How quickly does a crawdaddy start to deteriorate once it's dead? It doesn't take long at all. The evidence is that fossils form quickly. And the conditions of fossilization is very specific. I dare you, if I can be so bold, to try to go out into nature right now and find something that's going through the fossilization process. I'm talking about an organic something or other. You'd be hard pressed to do that. That's why you have to go into the laboratory, and if you want to experiment, and here's the hypothesis. There was a worldwide flood. The conditions of the worldwide flood were such that we're going to try to figure out how to replicate those in order to create a fossilization environment. Okay, so let me reintroduce you to Frankenfossil. This is the machine that created a fossil I'm going to show you in just a moment. Then we're going to talk about coal. So you're not going to want to go anywhere because the coal thing just gets even more exciting. This Frankenfossil machine created, and I'll show you. Remember that leaf that I showed you? How it deteriorated within 1 week to this, just sitting on my desk, not out there in the environment. Okay, that's the type of leaf that it was. That's what it looked like, okay? Similar to this. This is stone, reconstituted stone. This spent time inside Frankenfossil, and it created this. I'm going to show you a really extreme close-up. In 24 hours. 24 hours of putting a leaf in there, and then you can stack it. So on the other side, look at this. Does that look a little bit similar to this? Look at the stem, how it's bent. Looks similar, doesn't it? 24 hours. All right, let's set Frankenfossil maker aside. And we're going to try to take this apart, by the way. We haven't done that yet. And let's talk a little bit about coal. If you look up on the internet, oh, and by the way, just a real quick commercial break. This show is being sponsored by us. And this is our text number, 315-509-9075. Some of you who like what we're doing are going to want to get maybe just a little bit cozier with us. And you can do that by texting me and saying, hey, John, and I'll say, hey, Bob, hey, Mary, welcome to the text group. And what I do is I text you before I go live, like I did this evening, to a group of about 250 people. So if you want to join, it's free, but it's only good for the United States and Canada, okay? So text that number, 315-509-9075, and I will greet you after we get done with this live. All right, let's talk about coal. I got a nice piece in here that I'd like to share with you. A few notes here. Coal is a black, porous, solid material made primarily of wood, okay, or other organic matter that has been heated in the absence of air. Okay, so what do you need for producing coal? You need heat, pressure, material, water, minerals, and there you have it. But you have to have that right combination. So in the laboratory with our Frankenfossil, we were able to use it to create coal. What? How old is coal? Typically, when you look on the internet or any other geological book, it'll tell you somewhere between, I think it's 50 to 300 million years, but typically you'll see something right around 300 million years. That's how long how old coal is. Now, how long it takes to form, you know, when you go on there on the internet and you try to find, hey, how long does a fossil take to form? How long does a stalactite or stalagmite take to form? You may find some answers, but you'll be hard pressed to find it. I don't think anybody's trying to hide anything. I think that they just don't really know. I could be wrong. But if they do know, they're not broadcasting it like readily, like easy to find. They'll tell you how old it is, but how long it took to form is another story. See, nobody was there to see it form. So we basically have to go off of, well, strata and the fossils within the strata to try to get an idea of how old it is. And then the formation of it is still debatable, I guess. Okay. There's a few types of coal, and we're going to talk about two of them. lignite or brown coal, which is at the bottom of the barrel of quality of coal. And then there's the anthracite. Uh, anthracite is this type of coal. It's dark, deep black, it's shiny, and this is the type of coal that you want to burn. This is the good stuff, the Cadillac of coal, okay? I'm going to show you some brown coal. It may not be very brown, but this is the lignite coal. And it does have a little bit of brown to it. This is lignite coal, okay? All right, so the hypothesis that Genesis is true, there was a worldwide flood, and that even coal formed rapidly and only 4,400 years ago, within a short period of time of formation, is the opposite of what modern geology, which, friends, has only been around for 200 years. And modern geology says that the coal took longer than a few years or few months or whatever to form, and it's also 50 to 300 million years old. Okay, so obviously they're almost diametrically opposed to one another in regards to the agreement as to when coal was created, how long ago, and how long it took to form it. Back to Frankenfossil. Okay, so let me see if I can get this apart. Oh, okay, good. And as I'm doing this, I want to show you the different parts of it. I have not taken this apart yet, so this will be the first time that I have done this. Now, the specimens that I'm showing you, both the leaf fossil and soon to show you coal that was created in this thing, was done by the originator of this. His name is Gordon Craig. And paleogenesis.com. And by the way, those of you that want a Frankenfossil machine, all you got to do is email me, lostworldmuseum@gmail.com. Okay, get a hold of me. You can go to our website, Lost World Museum, and I'm John. So just do that. Or again, you can text me at 315-509-9075. Okay, all right. This must be where some of the moisture escapes. Yeah, moisture has to escape. When something organic goes into the ground and gets pressed, the water and even in alluvial rock, sedimentary rock, has to escape. Water has to come out of it because it is full of water. We're talking about a global flood. We're talking about a lot of sediment. And when it finally settles down and pressure is on top of it, the water's got to go somewhere. So this is the reason why we've got all those holes there. These are all handcrafted and machined to very specific tolerances. So here's one of the chambers. We've got a couple of filters right here, and we've got another one here and some other filters down at the bottom. And then we have the final, the bottom piece with the holes again, so the water can. So what happens is that the matrix, or the stuff that you fill it with, goes into this part right here. Okay, so in here, and then it has to be sealed. These things are meant to seal it in, and once it's sealed in, I'll just stick this in here for right now. Once it's sealed in, then you can put the pressure on it. And I'll explain in a second. So what you do, and you see this right here, this lines up here. There we go. Puts the pressure on it. And you've got your springs right here. So you get the idea. Once you get everything assembled, then you're going to, and I'll have we're going to assemble all the directions on how to do this, so you can do this in your own home if this is something you're interested in. Another thing that we're going to be making available is some of these fossils. We'll make those available for sale in the coming months ahead. But if you want to get on our waiting list, I advise you to, well, advise you in a good way, to just email me and just say, John, put me on your VIP list for either the Frankenfossil machine or for a fossil such as this. If you'd like your very own fossil, then please do. Okay, so then this gets tightened down until these springs right here completely compact, and it takes about an hour or so to tighten it proper. Once you do, you stick this in the oven for a predetermined period of time. You take it out, and voila. Let me show you another specimen. I don't show this very often. Matter of fact, this is only the second time I've shown this. And for those of you who know, what do you think that is, guys and gals? This was also in there. What do you think that is? Go ahead and throw it up on the righty-tighty. You're absolutely right. What do you think that is? This was also put into the fossil machine. You can throw it right up there in the comments section. All right. Tarantula, close. Kundalini. Yep, you got it, John. You got it, Al. It is a little squid or octopus. Spider. It does look like a spider, doesn't it? So even a soft-bodied creature can be fossilized, and we have found that in nature. They're rarer, okay, but there you go. All right, let's talk about the Frankenstein fossil machine as it pertains to coal. You ready? Let's do it. All right. So, like I said, you've got the good coal, and then you got the brown coal, lignite coal, which isn't so good. You can burn this, but people really don't prefer to do it. All right, I have not opened this yet. I just got this in the mail along with the machine. I got this last week and I held off opening this up. I wanted to wait to show it to you first. Okay. So, and I'm going to try to get a nice close-up of this so you'll be able to see it too. Wow, this is brown coal. Lignite coal. And by the way, over the next few months, we're going to have more cameras. We're going to have a camera coming down. We're going to have a camera over here, not on my face, but on the object that I have here. And then we're going to invest in a microscope that has an HDMI output so that we can just switch back and forth and I can show you things better. So these lives are going to get better as we move along. Lignite. Okay, what do you mean lignite? Lignite, brown coal. That's the same stuff that we saw just moments ago. This was formed naturally. If you were to ask somebody, how long does it take to form this? Just jot it down. Look for yourself. Lignite coal takes how long to form? Lignite coal is how old? This was formed in 1 week. 1 week inside of the Frankenfossil machine. 1 week. Could you imagine that? I don't know how many people have geology friends or hang out on the geology sites. But if you were to make a Frankenfossil and you were to show them that, hey, I made lignite coal in 1 week, they would be like, get out. Oh, yeah. All right. But that's not the good coal. And by the way, this was created with black peat. Okay? And when you look and find out how coal is formed, let me just tell you one thing that we've discovered. It's not formed with peat to form lignite coal. Yes. But the andesite coal, the good stuff, this right here, is not formed with peat. It's not just vegetable matter. It's something else. And I'll tell you what that something else is in just a second here. All right. So there were two pieces of coal that were sent. Looky there. Does that look similar to any of the specimens that we showed? Friends, according to geologists, they would tell you that this right here is 300 million years old and most likely took a long time to form. Okay? From a creationist standpoint, our contention is that this is only 4,400 years old. It took a very short time to form. And in order to be able to see this in the natural, we can't because those conditions don't exist anymore. But we can in the laboratory, hypothesizing that it was formed quickly under pressure, and I'll explain in just a second, and minerals and heat and water. And sure enough, when we replicate the conditions of the worldwide flood, we come up with this. This is your anthracite. And it was created by, hold on one second. I want to make sure that I give you the correct information on that. This right here was created by a piece of Douglas fir. Peat moss, Douglas fir. Brown lignite, peat, wood. Friends, coal is formed, the good coal, the stuff where you won't see a lot of impurities in it like this. When you see coal like this, it's formed by wood. Solid wood, a lot of wood, okay? Oh, did I forget? This is took 1 week to form. 1 week to form this coal. 1 week. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the formula? When we put this thing, let me bring back the Frankenfossil machine. When we put the necessary materials in this and tighten it down, it replicates 3,000 psi. 3,000 psi seems to be the correct pressure necessary in order to create the fossilization process. Okay, now, what does that mean in the real world? Let's just say, humor me for a second, there really was a worldwide flood, and you had these huge amounts of logs and wood and everything. And there's a coal seam in Australia that's 300 feet thick, okay? What's the ratio of wood compressed to coal? It's approximately 10 to 1. So that 300 feet, you needed at least 3,000 feet of wood. Compressing it down to 300 feet of coal. All right. But John, you said something about the pressure. The wood itself is not the pressure. It's what's laying on top of the wood that pressures it and compacts it and creates the environment for fossilization, or I should say coalification. So what kind of overburden, and what I mean by that is how much sand and silt and clay have to go on top of all that wood to create this? The answer is at 3,000 psi, when you work it back mathematically, depending if the sediment is dry or wet, you need 5,000 to 10,000 feet of sediment in order to be able to compress it to 3,000 psi in order to get this. That means that you need 3,000 plus 5,000, at minimum 8,000 feet of wood and overburden in order to produce coal. That 300 feet thick, we're using that one as an example, of coal. Friends, that's almost 2 miles. Now, if it was just a small little local area, maybe we could make the what am I trying to say? The argument that it was a local flood that did all that. Yeah, Flood would create these environmental uh, conditions in order to do this. But we're saying that it was a global flood. Well, come on. Take a look at the fossil beds. Next time you do any, research, note how big is this formation? Is it 100 by 100 yards? Or is it 100 by 100 miles? Or is it 1,000 by 1,000 miles? And when it comes to this coal formation, how long does where does that 300 feet of coal seam go? Is it just like a small section? Or is it miles? If it's miles and it's the same structure, the same strata, how do you get that amount of overburden? How do you get that much wood in one place at one time to do it? Now, some would argue, well, no, it's a succession of swamps. Really? Number one, show me a swamp where there's coal being formed right now. Number two, really? The mathematics don't lie. And all those stats I gave you, the 3,000 psi, the amount of material that you need at 10 to 1 in order to create, let's say the 300 feet of coal seam is 3,000 feet of wood. That's almost, that's three quarters, 2/3 of a mile of wood to get 300 feet in Australia of thickness. And then the pressure on top of that. That doesn't come from a local flood, friends. What is a local flood? 10, 20 feet of water? So, yeah, I'll tell you what, Cole. I've just learned this in the last 3 years. I'm no genius, and someone to say, yeah, you're absolutely right, you're no genius. The critics like to say that when I say that, but I learned this on my own. I find it fascinating. I was bored out of my mind in ninth grade during earth science. Do you guys remember your eyes glassing over during ninth grade earth science class? Impact site? The entire world. Coal beds run nationwide. Look at that. Look, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to give you a few things. And then when you go do your own particular study, like such as how big are coal beds as far as width, depth, thickness, you can take these statistics and start working them over in your mind. 3,000 psi means 5,000 to 10,000 feet of overburden. Just keep that. That's a constant, okay? And then the thickness of the skull, the thickness of the coal seam is a 10 to 1 ratio. So if it's 60 feet, okay, if it's 60 feet, then it needed 600 feet of wood, okay? And that's what coal is made of. Coal is made of wood. It's not made of peat. The brown coal is made of peat, but not this. This is made of wood. So, all right. So that's what I've got for right now. And again, I would like to direct you guys, for those of you that want to get cozy with us, 315-509-9075. Whether you text me to ask a question or you want to be on our VIP list for the Franken fossil maker, or you want to get on our VIP list to be one of the first to at least be informed about the fossil formation discs that we'll be making available to the public, please feel free to do that. All right. All right. That's all for tonight. Next week, I haven't figured out what we're doing next week, but I'll try to make it as cool as possible. So you guys go ahead. And by the way, I don't like to be cheesy about subscribe, but let me tell you what the benefit is of subscribing, at least to this channel, if you'd like to, is that when you press it, and you do one other thing, the bell. There's a drop down right next to when you press subscribe. And when you click on the top one, the top tier, you'll get the Cadillac of service, meaning that you'll actually get informed when we do this again. So if that's your pleasure, I invite you to subscribe to this channel and hang out with us. The best is yet to come. Upcoming, other than the redesign of our studio with more cameras and eventually a microscope, my wife is heading to Canada to do just a blitzkrieg of photography of all sorts of geological, fast forming stalactites in caves She's going to be and she's going to be looking at a lot more items that we're going to be unboxing. Okay, so and we've got a whole bunch that are going to be they're going to be in our possession first week or so, first couple of weeks of June. We've got another 24 objects we're going to be unveiling and unboxing here on YouTube. All right, guys. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Dan. Dan just subbed. Dan, you're a hero. I will send my love to the missus. Thank you very much. Come visit Southwest Missouri. See some of these caves. Yes. Love to. I know that down south they have some caves. We have one called Howe Cavern here in New York, and they're amazing. All right. I don't want to overstay my welcome, so I'm going to go for now. And remember, keep asking the question, where did we come from? Apes, aliens, or Adam? I'm John Adolfi with the Lost World Museum, and I bid you a good night, day, or evening, wherever you are in the world.